Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Mentorship Mondays. This is Michelle, and this is Maren. We are your spiritual mamas. We are magical. We are into all kinds of really cool things about consciousness, which is what we're talking about today, with one foot in the conscious world and one foot in the grocery aisle. How's it going,
I
Maren?
love
We're
it.
ready to go.
I'm glad that we don't have 3 feet. Like one in the conscious aisle, one in the grocery aisle, and one
One
in the crazy aisle.
One foot here, one our one foot, one foot.
We're the
Hold on.
three-legged mamas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one. We should start another podcast. We're the three-legged mamas.
Did you see me
Without your,
walking with 3 legs?
yeah, without your three-legged walk. Oh, that's good. Welcome back. Ah, back to the program.
That's good. That's quality. Okay. Yes, so we're gonna leave or take off where we left off, and finish our chat about the telepathy tapes. So
Yes,
hopefully you've had a chance to listen to them since last week and get caught up, because they are mind blowing and we can't
they
wait to
are.
discuss.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so tune in. Oh, so okay. So when you talk about Michelle, oh my God, you're just gonna like die when you like listen to this. Okay. So she uses that. She says that we are the receiver, right? And
Yes,
that there's all this information floating out there that we can't see, just like radio waves and
that's the
internet
field. Yeah.
waves and
Mm-hmm.
all the, gamma waves and all
Mm-hmm.
those waves that we can't see but that are out there. And she plays this story from Lucille Ball, who is a famous actress, comedian, and from like the 1950s. She's like on a talk show. And she said she got a filling and she was driving along the road and all of a sudden she heard a radio station and she checked her radio wasn't on, and she's looking around and she can't figure out where she's hearing this radio station come from, and it gets louder and louder and louder, so much it's like so loud she can't even like hear. She's like it feels like it's coming from inside my head. And then she drives away and it fades and she's like, "What?" So then she reverses back up. She's like on this old road and it got bright again. And somehow, and so then she went to the dentist and she told the dentist what happened, and the dentist was like, "Oh yeah, you got a filling." And so like somehow we are the technology. And there's all this information out there that we can't see, but yet somehow if you tune just right, you can pick it up. So, how do we do
Well,
that? Like,
and not only that, but this is what this is what my work is shifting to with my website is the heart resonance technology because it's working with the field. It's working with
yes.
the field, not only picking up because that is what we do. We're running information continuously, but when we understand the technology, when we understand this is the technology and we understand how to use it clearly, we work with the field. And so we are getting information, and that is how we can not only communicate but navigate. We can interact with it. So when we think about synchronicities, there's so much expansion to this in how we can move through our life in having our own guidance system. That's really what it is. And this is the time that we are headed into because our consciousness as a collective and all those that are at the precipice of this and ready or have already started to move into it understand this. That's why it's so exciting to hear this and to hear the telepathy tapes to understand that there's all of these different corners of evidence of what's taking place. And that is the, you know, because yes, there's a part of the collective that thinks it's woo. But any logical mind that sits down and looks at the evidence of energy understands frequency. It's
Yeah.
not hippy dippy woo. It's
Yeah.
how we function. And decoding it doesn't come from matter first. It comes from the unseen frequency that then produces into matter.
Yes.
That's what it is. And
Yeah.
that's how everything exists. That's how mediumship works, because the mediumship is like a bridge to spirit. It's just a line through the field. They're all fields like Russian dolls. A field within a field within a field within a field. And this is doing this and this. Input, output, all the time. All the time. It's amazing. It is truly amazing. But I'll just say one thing that they said to me was they showed me a technology. And I don't know if this is something that's actually in prototype or if this is something that hasn't come in yet. But they showed me a technology that looked like a halo, hooking something on a chair of a child that is nonverbal, or somebody nonverbal, and it giving real-time communication. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh my God, like
Yeah.
makes me like,
And so,
ugh,
and technology, and this is the thing, because I do speak to a lot of people that are, on the fence of, AI and it's scary, or the technology and all of those things. But we have to remember technology is not something to fear. It's something to, like, understanding our technology, the sovereign being, this. Any technology is not a replacement. And so all of these people that you've talked about that have experienced telepathy with their students, with their children, they've experienced it on their own without devices. So that shows you. And devices are something that we can tune into to enhance, not replace. We're not here to replace our system. We're here to enhance. And as our consciousness expands, we can walk into this without fear. Because this is part of the growth of our evolution, and technology is not going to go anywhere. Technology is a wonderful thing. And yes, in the hands of some, it's not. But the sovereignty and everything else that we learn that is here is what allows us to decipher and discern through all of that. That's why this time is so important. That's why that is so important. But I think that this is such a layered conversation with so much good stuff.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It seems that like with technology, it's gonna only be as good or as bad as like our consciousness, our collective's vibration is, right? Like, so
Yes.
if we are in a fear state, then all that technology is going to be used for fear. But if we're
Yes.
in a love state, then all of that technology will be used for
Yes.
love
Yeah.
and healing.
That's
And
right.
so instead of fearing the technology and putting us in that state, just work on being creative, because creativity raises vibration, and
Yeah.
um, hopeful. And yeah, I think anything that you can do to, what else? Like
Yeah.
giving, charity, like I'm trying to think of all like the practical applications for technology with um
Well, allowing, I think one of the biggest things is, and to remember, if we look back through generations and we think about when something new was introduced, when something new is brought into the world, um, you can look at, there'll always be those that will say, well, and then it ruined this, and then we had pollution, and then we had, okay, but you have to remember, we're on the earth, we're living with polarity. So we're going to have, and this isn't about changing everyone's mind about anything. It's about presenting something that
mhm,
is bigger than the boxes that we may have thought previously. And so, allow yourself to explore. Allow yourself to look at things and look with a discerning eye. You know, have your wits about you to really examine it, but at the same time, don't close yourself off. And this is the part about our own self-learning, is that when we listen to the voices of everyone else telling us what's right and what's wrong, we're not giving ourselves a chance to really explore ourselves, because that's when we start to cut each other off, because we all have the ability to make our own choices and thoughts and decisions. So yes, raising your vibration, allowing yourself to explore, and at the same time allowing yourself to explore outdoors, allowing yourself to be outside, grounding yourself.
Yeah.
But there are amazing things that are taking place, that have taken place and will continue. And this conversation right here, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is just the tip, because this won't go away.
Do you think we could do an episode on maybe some trying to figure out how to go and do telepathy with each other?
Yeah.
I did it with my husband in the car, and he was like, "What color am I thinking of?" And I think he was thinking of yellow, which is my favorite color. So you would think that I would like guess that first. And I was like, red. And he was like, no. Green, no. Blue, no. Purple, no. Orange, no. I'm like, is it a primary color? He's like, yes. Gray. No, not at all.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I think that would be really good. That'd be really good. Talking about how how it actually works.
Yeah.
Because there is a scientific explanation with frequency, and really understanding the framework of it, of what it is, how it works, how to apply, how to work with it, because we all have it.
Yeah.
We all do.
Yeah.
And just spirit communication it's another form of telepathy.
So I asked Eric, I think it was actually last night, I asked Eric, maybe it was the night before, I was like, I want to get on the hill, Eric. Help me get on the hill. I feel like it's like a VIP party. I'm like, just give me a ticket.
I think you've already been there, Maren.
No, he said that I needed more practice. He was like, you need more practice. But I think it's because my intention is when I get on the hill, I want to collect people, know people, get information, and help people.
I see.
And so I'm not there yet, but maybe I have actually been on the hill. But it's very interesting because the way the kids describe the hill is that it's only kids, and that very few non-autistic people have been on the hill.
Yeah.
So it's like a spiritual meetup place where you have to have some qualifying,
the intention, the pure intention. That's what I feel. The pure intention.
Yeah, they mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be interesting to really understand it, because to me it feels like dimensional space. So we're really, it's like, because I get that 0 point, that non-location, that 0 point, but when you say this, I can almost feel like a tip of it. And I want to say it because it's very white and yellow. So when you say it's like this tip of where they go is very white and yellow, that's how I'm perceiving it. And so it looks like rings around it. So is there different, just like dimensions? Is it different spaces? Like how do we put framework to this to understand it is what I'm looking for. Is what I'm asking. Eric just said draw a picture. He goes, draw a
Here
picture.
is your head. You know what it
Yeah.
reminds me of? When have you ever taken like a statistics class in the bell curve?
Yes,
And
yes,
like
yes,
the reason why the bell curve, like a bell curve,
yes,
anybody that hasn't taken statistics, this is the bell curve. And the reason
yes.
why it's the bell curve is because, like, say that this is the average. So,
Yeah.
say 50% is your average, 100 is your top score, 0 is your low score. Most people are going to fill in here. And so it's like this is all the scores, right? If you're going to
So
have a
is
plot.
it,
So,
it would
like,
just,
you've got only a few scores over here, most of your
uh-huh,
scores are in here, and only a few scores in here. And so the bell curve is high because you have the most curves. And so if you think about like energy and a
uh-huh.
hill, there's so many people gathered and it creates a hill. That's, to me, that's
That
what
makes
I'm,
sense. That makes sense. That makes
yeah,
a lot of sense. Yeah.
yeah.
That feels right. Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. Because it's, I wonder, I wonder how many are communicating consciously, like out of like what that percentage would be. It'd be so fascinating to really get into
No.
the
One,
nuts and
so
bolts
one
of it.
day, um, there's this boy and his name is JP, John Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to the hill a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
his mom, I guess they were coming over for the recording, and his mom said, where have you been? And he said he was on the hill, and she said, and the interviewer was like, well, how many people are on the hill? And he said there were like 1,200 people on the hill.
Mm.
And she was like, is that normal? And he said, no, that's a lot. And they were like, well, why is everybody on the hill? And she said, or he said, excuse me, that there were so many people because they're all excited about the documentary, that they all know about the documentary and they're all excited that this
Mm.
documentary is going to like change things for them and, give a new perspective of all these non-speakers and the ability to telecommunicate. I don't know. But anyways, so yeah, so 1,200 would be the high end for the hill, and I don't know what the low end would be.
Yeah. It's fascinating. It's
It's
amazing
so
that gets
fascinating.
me excited for everything that is happening, that is unfolding. It really
Oh,
does.
I know, I know. And
Yeah.
you'll have to keep us updated with Marcus too. Like, does he know
Yes.
about this? Does he, and
Yeah,
oh, and
I'm
here's the
curious
thing
to
they do.
see because he's not really answered, like he just didn't respond to me, which he does often. I'll ask him things and he
Yes.
won't respond verbally. But what Marcus does that is very interesting, and he's really done this quite a bit over the last 6 months, is he brings out different time periods just randomly. So he'll come out and he'll say, do you remember something, like it's usually about it might be about a house or a car or something, and he'll say in 1932, and then he'll just say, and then he's done. He says
Okay,
nothing
so
else.
what is so interesting is there was literally one line that I heard so far where she said when she was talking about their psi abilities, and psi as in like science, not science, but like it's PSY, so it's like psychic
Psychic.
abilities, but it wasn't psychic,
Yeah.
psychophenomenal maybe is or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Something like that.
there was like one line and she said time travel.
Yeah.
So, like, that's like one of the abilities. And I wonder if in one of the later tapes or episodes, she gets into that.
Gets into it.
Because I wonder
Yeah.
if that's what he's doing is like, because it's not,
He goes forward too. He goes
yeah.
forward because
Mhm.
he'll say 2040. He'll list like
What's
different years.
happening? What's happening in
And, and
2040?
and this is nothing, like we don't feed that to him. We don't,
Right.
this is just, it randomly comes through. Now something else Marcus does is he will he starts to react to something like, I'll give you an example. Maya's girlfriend was coming here from the States, and she was coming on a plane, and he started to panic like the night before. And he kept saying something was going to happen with the plane. Something's
Oh,
gonna, and
that's
he kept
scary.
saying, he goes, "Oh no, don't drive, don't go to the plane." He didn't want his dad to go to the airport, and it's a little freaky when he says stuff like that. But I didn't
Yeah.
feel anything really going on, so I just do my best to work with him to say, no, it's safe and everything's okay, and what are you feeling? And he'll often not go into it. When those type of things come out, he says it. He goes through periods of worry. He might kind of roll back to it here and then, but he doesn't want to talk about it. He wants to change the subject. Well, what happened was her airplane, she actually was delayed. There was all kinds of mechanical trouble, and her travel time was like really long. Like what was supposed to have been a quick pickup ended up being like a 12-hour event. So he's not like, the language that's coming out is not matching what he's feeling. And so he's trying to express something that he feels. And this is what I'm talking about. Like there's something in the field because it's already, jeez,
Yeah.
it's already I'm getting too excited. It's already imprinted, right? And
Yeah.
so this is what I've been understanding about what we consider psychic and everything too, because there's already an imprint there, and as we've talked about it, we pick up on timelines, we pick up on energy,
Yeah.
right? So he's picking up, in what I feel, he's picking up on a timeline, on an event, on the sensation of something, of a disturbance. Possibly he's picking up on Maya's energy, because our field will sense things ahead of time, which is when our brain doesn't know, our brain doesn't understand. So, all those times you felt things, our brain doesn't always understand exactly what that is. But a child like Marcus has that thinner veil, and that is so turned up. So he has been, I will say, like a marker. When you see something changing in him, when you see him elevate in one way or another, or starting to ask questions, there's like a pattern that I've watched. And then I'll see what plays out in our reality. And I can go backwards and study it and look at the pattern, right? So that's really fascinating, because I'm sure there's more to those that will kind of
Well,
explain what's taking place.
yeah, so there is like they talk about there's one girl and she said, my dad's gonna they were from Arizona where it's a desert and they said my dad's gonna like get hurt on the ice and they were like whatever. But then he took a trip and he slipped and fell on a patch of black ice and I think he like needed like pins in his hip or something. So he got really hurt. So
Mm.
like she was able
Mm-hmm.
to see the future as well. But then
Mm-hmm.
also there are some where because of the telepathy, like one of them, there was this little boy and he started getting really just unregulated, dysregulated. And it was because later they realized it was his assistant at school, his paraprofessional at school, was going to the beach that weekend and he really wanted to go to the beach and he was like getting disappointed in like the excitement of like knowing that she was going to the beach but she never told anyone that she was going to go to the beach. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like you have this behavior that's happening. It's completely like no one knows why because he's reading a mind, not like a physical event. And so like they're like I just can't tell you how many times like working with kids that are non-speaking where all of a sudden they're upset and you're like, why are you upset?
Yeah,
And
yes,
then like
yes,
to know, oh my gosh, it's not just what happened right in front of us. It could be what's happening in our minds that we're going to
yes,
do and that we're thinking about that is upsetting you. Like
yes,
that is unbelievable. And like
yeah,
it just makes me want to like just redo everything and like try to figure like have a new so I always feel like you're a detective like when you're working with these kids like what can I do to help you? What do you need? What is going
yes,
on? Like what, like
yes,
I'm always just trying to make everything smoother for them and to like to have had that piece of information would have been really
well,
helpful to know
yes,
that could be
Marcus,
something that's going on in anybody else's mind, not
it's
just,
it's true. It's true, and that happens at with Marcus with school and everything too. So
yeah.
there's it's very interesting to watch because his behaviors, um one day he had a really off day, and then the next day his EA went into surgery. Like a real like
Yeah,
there's a lot of this. And
he
Eric
knows. Yeah.
told me that he talked about me with the work with my nervous system, and as I would go through my healing process, and my nervous system would continuously reset and move. He said Marcus is connected indirectly to your nervous system. So as I ground myself and work on myself, it rebounds with him. And it is very true. We've watched it take place. But he is the beacon of whatever is going on in our family.
Yeah.
So he can pick up on everything,
Yeah.
prior to anything taking place. It's very fascinating. It really is.
I
It's a
had,
study that has no language sometimes.
oh, I know. So I worked privately with this one boy who was a non-speaker, and his mom, for our first session, she was like, "Can I sit in with you? He's very high needs. Like, I want to make sure that he feels comfortable and that you feel comfortable." And, and I was like, "Sure." And I had heard that, nonverbal kids are very telepathic and whatnot. And so I'd heard that several years ago. So I always like whenever I think I've told this story before, but like whenever I like always would work with someone first, I would like try to like send like love out to them.
Yep.
And one time, like my heart chakra, I felt my heart chakra open and I didn't know what that was. And I called it my
Yeah.
love beam.
Yeah.
And so then
Yeah.
I would always try to like get my love beam to open and like shoot at the kids before I
Yeah.
would work with them so that they would feel like really calm. And anyway, so I was like working with this one boy and I remember I like he was, he was slow to like respond. So like while I was like waiting for his response, I just like shot my love beam at him and I told him like, how sweet he was, and how kind he was, and how happy I was to work with him. And telepathically I said that. And but this is again before I knew anything about any of this. So like I didn't know if it was real or not. And he gave me a hug. He got up out of his seat right after I had that thought and he gave me a hug. And his mom was like blown away and she goes, "He has never done that to anyone before." And in my mind, I'm going, I wonder if it was what I just said. Like, because there's no proof, I'm just going on a hunch here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember like that day, like it was yesterday, because I remember like so vividly going like, I wonder if it was because he like was able, I don't think like hear my thoughts. That was not like the verbiage because it didn't even have like that good of a grasp of it, but just
Yeah.
like felt my intentions is like what I felt that he
Yeah.
felt.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Wow. Yeah, I think that's pretty incredible, and a very purposeful experience to recall back on, now
yes.
that you know what you do.
Now
You
that I
know
and
what
now I
was
like
happening.
they're back, in Arizona where I used to live, but I like want to like call them back up and be like, I want to work with you again, but we're gonna do it all different this time.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Yeah.
work on telepathy.
Do you get the feeling that possibly there may be something that you do in that direction? Have you felt
Yes,
that?
that's what I mean. Like, what in the world? How could two worlds converge so
Yeah.
perfectly? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, that's like so. I mean, literally everybody that knows I can do mediumship and my speech pathologist recommended this telepathy tapes, and I like want to reach out to all the SLPs that are on this, and I want to like figure this out because this
Yeah.
is really, really cool. Really cool.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely something there. There's something there.
mhm.
Absolutely. Oh, it's good. I keep saying I'm going to sit down and listen to it, and I know I need to because I've had that nudge sent to me so many times. I've just skimmed different little bits of information, but I will.
Oh,
I
start
will
at
listen to it.
5, and
Yeah.
I mean, since you're short on time, start at 5, just because
Yeah.
the children are amazing, and I almost like hate saying start at 5 because I don't want you to miss out on them because they're just so
Yeah.
amazing. But to get
Yeah.
to the meat and potatoes, start
Yeah.
at 5 and keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's there is a world of study taking place there are things that are opening and being presented to us, and it's a very exciting time. It truly is.
Mm-hmm.
It truly is. And, science is going to, I mean, there's already areas of science that is presenting this information. And yes, there is, part of the mainstream science that pushes it into a corner or says that it's not this or it's not that, but it doesn't change the truth of it. And the many, many, many people who have experienced and understand, just like a near-death experience, like anything
Oh,
else.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, there's so much, um, you know, with you and I, Maren, and, those of us that are immersed in this work and are working in and out of spirit communication and all of this, it makes perfect sense. Like it's logical, to somebody
Yeah.
else that was not touching their toes in this information. It may be hard for them to
Yeah.
understand. And I have compassion for that because, it takes time to wrap your head around a lot of things that are far beyond the physical, far
Mm-hmm.
beyond what we can hold. But it does make a lot of sense. And I think that our world is really at that tipping point. We are, as a collective, hungry for this information. And these children, they are definitely not broken. And they have all come in here to carry that thin veil to show us something,
Mm-hmm.
in a very grand way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what they're doing. And they're doing it very well. And it's time for us to listen,
Mm-hmm.
instead of trying to change them. Time for us to
Well,
listen.
yeah. And that's what they say. The whole thing is that it's like because of our like worldview, we think if you can't speak, if you're non-speaking, that also means that you're not competent. And to have that completely switched. And that's what, oh, it just makes me so sad because it's so true. So they all talk about how like they didn't get any education in school. And it's so true because that's literally just because there is no communication, right? So like if you're going to put me in a classroom in France, I'm going to like look like an idiot because I can't tell you anything that I know, right? And
Yeah.
so like that, so then it's like we just work on, well, okay, let's do numbers one, Maren, let me teach you numbers 1 through 10. Like, okay, like you
Yeah.
just work on the same basic skills over and over and over again. And then
Yeah.
it's like it's so funny because there's this I can't remember it now. I know, I think it was a boy, and he talks about how literally he got no learning from school, but he through the telepathic ethers like studied US history and like studied all these like really cool things and is like super into art, and like he's so intellectually like mature and smart, and he learned it all through telepathy because his schooling taught him nothing. And I'm like, yep, yes, you're correct. That's exactly what's happening at schools. And it's not like I feel like in the documentary they try to like make it be like, oh, the schools, it's just our way of thinking. Like, well, if you
Yeah.
can't show me that you have one-to-one correspondence with,
Yeah.
then you don't know it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's so cool to just change how we view these children. It's
I went
amazing.
through my whole schooling feeling like I wouldn't do anything because I wasn't qualified for university and my marks were barely passing except for art and English. That was it. I was way up there in those, and drama. But with everything else I could barely pass, and it speaks to, think of all the levels that this speaks to within our collective, that
Hmm.
there is a judgment placed on individuals that are not showing up the way the framework says needs to be, that
Hmm.
says you are not intelligent unless, you are not successful unless.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the bigger picture to all of this, is that the message that comes through very loud and clear is, do not judge us by what you see that we can't do.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're missing the whole point if you do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because look at what is available. Look at what is happening. Look at these brilliant minds. And I think there will be a movie. I think there's going to
The
be a
Telepathy
movie.
Tapes movie. Oh man,
Yeah.
that would be incredible. I mean, I don't know how they would cinematically do that, but this is unbelievable. If you go to her website, so it's
Mm-hmm.
the telepathy tapes. I'll put it up one more time.
Okay.
Oh, hold on, a
Yeah.
little. Oh my gosh, come on, people! It's like I touched my phone. I'm getting all these notifications. Okay, come on, all these notifications. Something must have happened because we are getting
Where is
notifications.
that on? Is that on Audible?
Like every news source I'm getting as a notification. The telepathy tapes. It's on podcast, Audible, everything.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Listen to this. Listen to this. This is episode 9, so this is my next episode because I thought we ended at 8.
Episode 9, to continue from last week's conversation.
And listen to what it
Sorry,
is.
I can't help that synchronicity.
Well, listen to what episode 9 is. The science of intuition, consciousness, intention, and the edge of reality. So, what if your
Do we
body
need
could
to say
sense
any
the
more?
future or your thoughts could subtly shape the world around you?
Yes. And it can.
Yeah, the psi phenomena, PSI phenomena. Um, they dig into well-documented experiments. That's what's so cool about this episode too, is like if you are like kind of a skeptic, she goes and she finds the researchers that are researching about whatever she's going to talk about, and you
Yeah.
like learn about their experiments, and you're like, why don't I know this? Why
Yeah.
isn't this,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
common knowledge? Like the
Yeah.
animal one, I think that was either episode 5 or 6, and it was so cool. And they were talking about
There
like dogs and animal. It's so cool.
definitely. Think about that. There's a lady that I speak to, one of my clients, and she has a cat that when she's lying in bed, this cat tells her what it wants. She gets images in her head, and she calls the cat, and the cat comes running. Like, there's people that I speak to all the time that we do animal communication with, and they talk about different images that they get and wonder, is that the dog? Is that right? Like, these things are happening every day with people. And it's because it's so subtle in some ways when you're not paying attention to it, it gets just like, oh, yeah, that's weird, or a lot of people don't want to talk about it because they don't want to look like a weirdo. Well, like, I'm way past that line. So like, I don't care. Call me a weirdo, call me whatever, but I've experienced enough to
Yeah.
know, and to really get into the grit of it, to help deconstruct what it is. To really help people enhance their lives, enhance their communication with the nonverbal, with the furry nonverbal, with all of it, because we're able to.
I
We are
know.
able to. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I need to go talk to my dog now.
I know. So it was like listening to the dog episode as we were like coming home, and
Yeah,
I was like shouting out, "Luke, I'm coming home.
yeah, I'm
Be
coming
there
back.
soon. I'm coming back. Don't worry."
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know if
yeah.
it made a difference or not,
Well,
but
think about how many times, like, Spirit will always say to me, think about how many times we talk about, if there's people in your life that maybe there's something that you're not able to speak about consciously with them, or you're closing a loop of connection through your healing, and this person is part of your past, you're not in communication with them anymore. You speak into their higher self, or you're speaking into their field of consciousness, and their soul receives it. They energetically receive it, even though they're not consciously receiving it. But are they? Are they? Because sometimes, think about how many times somebody might say, I thought of this person, and then they called. Or someone was thinking about me. Or I sent a message, like I've had people that talked about, I sent healing to this person, or I spoke to them and told them the things within their own mind that I needed to say, and 2 days later they sent me a letter or an email.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you just need to start at the beginning because she goes over all of this. And I guess um oh my gosh, Tom Sawyer, who wrote Tom Sawyer?
I don't know.
I don't know. Author. Oh, I don't, or was it Thomas Edison? I don't know. Some famous old person
Yeah.
wrote and
Sorry about
someone
everybody's got their headphones in and I just cackled into the microphone.
um some famous person coined a phrase. And now this was back before telephones, but he noticed how whenever he would, well, I don't know if it was whenever he would, but he wrote a book idea to a friend, and the friend, and then it took like, 2 weeks to get to the friend, but it was dated like June 3rd. The friend wrote the same book idea to him, and it was dated at the same date. Like, so somehow they were both thinking about, like, the same idea came to them on the same day, and they wrote about
Mm-hmm.
it and then wrote to each other. And he coined it maybe telegraphy or something, instead of, like,
Mm-hmm.
because it was written, right? And so, like, thinking about each other while writing was the name he gave it. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's
who wrote
there's a lot
Tom?
to explore there. There is a lot to explore there. There really is. But
Hold on. Why is this escaping me? Who wrote Tom Sawyer?
some
Mark
guy.
Twain.
Mark
Of
Twain.
course.
Yeah, yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course. Yes.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Well, it's a pretty big conversation, and I think it's something that we need to explore a little deeper. Um, there's just so many things firing off in my head right now, and we don't have another hour to keep going through them.
I know. I know. Well, maybe
But
we could do it again. You know, um, I'm obviously going to be listening to more episodes. So, and I hope that
yeah,
you
yeah.
start. So we could
I
definitely
like to listen
read.
before I go to bed at night, but I have this tendency to fall asleep.
Go for a walk. That's what I'm doing. I'm gonna go for a walk
Go
and
for a
listen. Or
walk.
like
Yeah, yeah.
I always listen to podcasts while I fold laundry. It's my thing.
Yes, yes. Yeah,
There's this
absolutely.
there's a speech question that we ask to know whether or not you can do good perspective taking, to ask children, and you say, if your mom or dad had a day where they didn't have to be a mom, and they didn't have to go to work, what would they do? And so it's, can they understand what you would want to do with your free time? Like, can a kid do that? So it's my favorite
Interesting.
test question ever because we get the funniest responses. But I asked my kids, and they said that I would listen to podcasts and fold laundry. And I'm like, you guys are correct. That's what I would do. Thank you.
I'm pretty sure my kids would say something along the lines of, she would stare off into the distance and do art.
You got to
Wait a
ask
minute, I do
them.
that anyway. I
So
will. I
we
will.
went out, me and my girlfriends, we like all took our kids out to dinner, and we
Yeah.
went around the table and had them ask, and we were just literally rolling on the floor because it's a little bit of a roast, because they'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, she'd be scrolling on Instagram, and you're like, oh, I don't want to hear that. And one was like, oh, she'd be gambling. She's like, oh, I
She'd
didn't want
be
anyone to know
gambling.
that.
That's hilarious. That is
So
so funny. That's
yeah,
good.
so it's
That's good.
really funny to listen.
Good. So we have a guest next weekend. for our next for our next podcast, we'll have our guest. And we did have our guest lined up for the last podcast, but there was some sickness and
Mm-hmm.
we're just not feeling very
So
well,
we'll
so
get
we
that back.
rescheduled it. Yeah, so in
Mm-hmm.
case you're wondering why we said it was coming up and then it didn't, that's
Mm-hmm.
why. So hopefully she's all well and feeling good now and we'll be all set to go. And I'm trying to think, is there anything else that we need to announce? I don't think so. I think
Mm-mm.
everything else is it's just another wonderful week in the world of spiritual wonder and everything else. So, anything else you wanted to say, Maren, before we close?
No, that's it.
No, that's it.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
it.
glad to see
That's
your
all.
face.
Glad to see your face too. And same with you, everybody. Even though I can't really see your face right now, I can feel every single one of you. And I send out my love, and I know Maren does too. So,
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening
yes,
and
absolutely.
sticking around with us.
And sticking around because we have just enjoyed chit chatting about this, and we didn't have any time today to do any pre talk, so we did it all live with you guys. And on that note, stay healthy, stay well, stay grounded, and tune in next week when we see you. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.